to MTG Speculator Podcast, episode number 29. Today is Tuesday, May 16th, 2017. I'm Massimo, and welcome Daniel Fournier, a very special guest.
So,
yeah, Fournier's fresh off of PT Nashville.
Yeah, PT Nashville. Yeah.
Dude, how was it?
That was pretty awesome, I'm not gonna lie. The Pro Tour is just like a very, very fun tournament to play every time. Nashville is a great city that I was like very pleasantly surprised by. It's just a great trip. It's the best tournament, biggest tournament, sweetest tournament.
That's awesome, man.
It's always in good places. It's just a great time.
Yeah, so Fournier's actually sitting right next to me, so
yeah,
you won't get that Skype feedback or anything like that, which is great.
Yeah, it never sounds good.
Yeah, so Fournier's also from Toronto, so
yeah.
We have the pleasure of hearing from him, and he's going to share like his experience from the PT. I'm going to try and dive deep into his deck list. So this is sort of like a spiky episode. This is definitely not going to be an MTG finance focus episode. So we're going to be talking, as I said, deck lists. We're going to be talking prep and post PT and where Fournier thinks things are going. So before we get into any of that, Fournier, like I guess I could have asked you about the PT, but like how you feeling like today about your PT?
My biggest Pro Tour or Magic related feeling right now, right after coming home from the PT, flew back yesterday, is oh god, I want to play it again.
Yeah?
I just want to go. I just want to qualify again. I just want to play the next one. The PT is like one of the most addicting things about Magic, and I think it's something that you only really can realize after playing it is how pleasant it is and how great it is. The qualification process for it is so kind of rewarding yet tedious at the same time. You have to deal with a lot of people who may or may not be like pleasant. But this is one of the weirdest things about the Pro Tour. At the Pro Tour, everybody's nice. Everybody's kind. Everybody's respectful. People, you almost never have to watch people for cheating, with a couple exceptions. But the cheaters are known, so that's fine. It's just like everyone's nice. It's great. It's like the best run tournament. They give you free stuff. It's just like it's just great. I just want to go again. That's all I want to do.
So which number PT is this for you? How many have you been to?
This is my third Pro Tour.
Okay.
World Magic Cup, not counting.
Okay. Would you say this is your favorite one you've been to so far?
I think it's like tied with the last one. The last one was in Vancouver, and Vancouver was also awesome.
That sounds awesome.
And I mean, I did slightly better in the tournament in Vancouver. I finished like 30-something, and was one win away from top 16 and silver and everything. And that was a time. I had a deck tech at that tournament, so that was great.
Yeah, I remember seeing you on camera, actually.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, sounds great.
I enjoyed that, but this one was pretty great too.
Sick, man. All right, let's jump into. I've prepared some questions, and like me and Fournier are just gonna have a back and forth about just like whatever happens to come up, and if we get too off track, we'll like try and bring it back. But like we're just gonna chum out. But I just wanted to like get into all the details as much as possible, I guess.
Let's do it.
All right. So my first question: what were you thinking about playing at the PT?
So we were working on a bunch of stuff. So, I mean, first off, I started working on 4 Colors Saheeli, but you know.
Yeah, true. We spent a lot of time testing that deck, eh?
I spent 2 days, like, literally all day on Moto trying to, like, grind the best version of 4 Colors Saheeli, because they made the ban list announcement. They're like, no changes. I'm like, alright, well, I had this Pro Tour in, like, 2-3 weeks, 3 weeks, I think. Obviously, Saheeli's going to be the best deck. There's a lot of unexplored real estate in the Delirium builds of the deck, so I want to figure out how to build the most consistent version of this deck for this Pro Tour. So I spent 2 days on Moto playing 4 Colors Saheeli mirrors only, because why would anyone play any other deck?
Yeah. And
it was awful. It was dreadful. Every match was garbage. Recording all these numbers, working like, all right, what's the right number of walking ballistas to like maximize our Delirium? How good's Glorybringer? Do we want to be traversing for it? Is to traverse the right number? Like, all these, like, questions that aren't really solvable by, like, thinking about it for a while. You have to, like, run the numbers and then run a million matches of it, right?
Right, yeah. You really just got to get a feel for it.
Yeah, and then, like, 10 leagues in, they're like, by the way, you're an idiot. Like, alright, cool. So they banned Felidar Guardian.
Yeah,
like, alright. Okay, so now every card that's good in the format is banned.
Yes, basically. Or new cards are unbanned somehow.
Yeah.
Like there's just new things that you weren't before.
So my immediate reactions for the things that I want to start working on is obviously Mardu with Gideon Ally of Zendikar is going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's obviously going to be very good. Obviously Aetherworks Marvel is going to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I just want to play Torrential Gearhulk all the time because that's me.
You're right.
I qualified for this Pro Tour by playing Torrential Gearhulk in a format where the card wasn't viable. And I top-8ed GP Fitzroy with Jeskai Sahili.
Right.
The format was like literally all black, green, and Mardu. And I only played against black, green, and that's why I won.
Right, right.
So I love Torrential Gearhulk and want to play that card no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
But we spent the next couple weeks playing a whole lot of different Marvel decks. I sent a specific list that we were working on, a banned list with a bunch of main deck Fumigates. It was like a really controlling deck. It was trying to Marvel Ulamog, but it also had a bunch of Nissa's renewal and had the plan B of casting.
Actually casting it, yeah, surviving and casting.
And so it was a slow and more powerful Marvel deck.
Mm-hmm.
And we sent that to a bunch of friends who were playing the week 1 SCG, and they all did like okay with it. Specifically, my deck won the Classic on the Sunday, so that was kind of cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a side event, but still cool.
Still cool.
But another 10 Moto Leagues later, and all I realized is, man, this deck's way worse at the Marvel Mirrors than all the other Marvel decks.
Mm.
So we spent a bunch of time trying to break the Marvel Mirrors, ended up with a Sultai Marvel deck, which is exactly the deck that Team Puzzle Quest ended up playing at the Pro Tour.
Is it the one with the Demon of Dark Schemes and stuff like that?
Yeah, we weren't playing Demon of Dark Schemes, but we knew about it. We had that card, we didn't play it, but... we had a deck that looked very similar to that, which we were considering playing. But in the end, about a week out from the Pro Tour, we all, specifically my friend Tyler Nightingale and I, who were the two who were going to this PT, just decided to pretty much lock in Mardu.
Yeah.
We're going to try to build Mardu in such a way that it beat everything else. People are going to bring random bad control decks, and we're going to crush them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so basically at a certain point we had spent a lot of time working on Marvel, and then locked in Mardu.
So once you were locked into Mardu, I guess you were tuning against Marvel specifically and other Mardu matchups. Was there anything else you were tuning against?
So a week before the Pro Tour, pretty much everyone at this point knew from Moto results that Zombies was a deck.
Right.
It was a deck that did not appear in the first couple weeks of the format, seriously at least.
Mm-hmm.
But because there were randomly 3 weeks of Moto before this Pro Tour, which there never are, there's usually one, which is not enough time.
Yeah.
The metagame actually got a chance to develop to the place where it's supposed to be. So
instead of the pros having a leg up sort of thing.
Yeah, the pros had significantly less of a leg up than they normally do.
Right.
All the pro teams that showed up with really sweet teched out decks
mm-hmm.
Didn't really appear in the top 8.
Not at all.
The ones who played good versions of known metagame decks tended to do better on average.
Yeah, definitely.
Which was pretty sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys were, I guess, expecting the big 3, Mardu, Aetherworks Marvel, and Zombies?
Yeah. That was the entirety of the Mono metagame in the week leading up, so we knew that we had to show up with a deck that was prepared for that. We took a couple risks in our preparations for the Mardu Mirror specifically, but I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll touch on that. The day before the PT, you've locked in your list. How happy are you with your testing, and how prepared are you out of 10?
I was very happy. This is actually okay, that's not true. This was, for the most part, by far the most prepared I've ever felt for a tournament. I felt like our deck was exceptional. We'd come up with a bunch of very, very smart, well-built considerations for the deck
mm-hmm.
that a lot of people we felt wouldn't have.
Yeah.
We built a very consistent deck we're happy with. We came up with a surprisingly scientific pick order for Limited that we did. We had a long Limited meeting, went over every card. Our friend Timer Rashid built a really sweet spreadsheet that we all put our card ratings into, and it gave us a preliminary pick order that we reviewed and changed, and
that's sick.
We had a lot of very good Limited prep. And Tyler also had played loosely a billion drafts on Moto.
Okay.
So had a lot of things to say about it.
That's awesome.
So felt really well prepared.
Before moving on to the specific deck list that you locked in, was there anything interesting that you got from your initial testing that maybe put you in the wrong direction or put you in the right direction? Anything interesting that might be a good takeaway for a listener or something like that?
Something that happened to me over and over again in testing, actually literally ever since Torrential Gearhulk has been printed, is that I keep trying to play bad control decks.
Right.
No matter what. No matter what's happening, I'm trying to play a bad control deck.
Yeah.
And if you ask me about GP Montreal this weekend later, I'll probably talk about the bad control deck I'm working on. everybody has their pet deck, like the strategy that they like to play the most.
Definitely.
And they're going to have a significant selection bias towards the kinds of decks that they prefer in while doing testing for a tournament. And especially for an event like a Pro Tour that's going to have like a bit of an odd, somewhat inbred, potentially metagame, it can be really dangerous to be selecting towards your biases, especially in the case of like standard control as of late, which is just a very low-powered strategy.
Definitely.
So
do you think you spent too much time on that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, it was all a waste of time.
Okay, fair enough.
Being able to check yourself in terms of, oh, this deck's bad, and I need to stop being cute and get back to actually preparing.
How do you know?
Is a thing.
How do you know when that's the line? Where's the line?
I can never tell because the only decks I'm ever able to 5-0 Moto leagues with are just bad control decks.
Fair enough.
But I never lose with them, so it's always like I bring them to a GB and go like 9-6. It's just very very, very frustrating. Yeah. So basically, I rely on my friends to tell me to stop.
So do you I guess you have friends that you trust a lot? Yeah,
exactly.
Fair enough. That's a really good advice.
I trust the insight of my teammates.
Cool. Very cool. Alright, let's jump into the deck list.
Alright.
What I'll do, listeners, is I'll actually post Fournier's deck list. I'll type it up on Tapped Out, and we can host it on our Tapped Out page, and I'll, of course, link it in the episode description. But Fournier actually sent me a picture of his deck list, and it's, pretty cool. It's running some interesting technology, and I wanted to, ask him specifically on very interesting card decisions, some with I disagree with and some I agree with, and I just wanted to get his reasoning on those. So the first thing that comes out to me, so you're on Mardu, and it's relatively stock with some nice spice in there.
Yeah.
So my first question is 3 Spire of Industry versus 4. So you were on 3. I'm having trouble justifying this one to myself, so I'd like to hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah. So the objective with this Mardu deck was, I'm sure we'll talk about some of the specific cards, but the specific cards that we chose were all there because we decided that these were the cards that were going to be powerful in the format that we knew because of Moto was going to appear at the Pro Tour.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to build the Mardu deck that is able to cast them the best and the most frequently.
Okay.
A lot of Mardu's strengths and weaknesses throughout its evolution in the last format were well explained by its struggle with its mana base.
Right.
When Mardu was powerful but ultimately bad, it's because it was trying to actually be a Mardu deck. It was trying to cast 3 colors of spells kind of inconsistently, trying to cast Veteran Motorists and Fatal Push and Avacyn and Depala. And those decks were just a mess. They were powerful, but they couldn't cast their spells.
Right.
Previously to that, you had the blue splash decks with the blue sideboard for Ceremonious Rejection and stuff back when Marvel Emrakul was big in the format.
Yeah.
And those decks were had this massive reliance on Aether Hub to work, and that was a mess. And they had to play a Harness Lightning to recover energy, and that card's not really viable anymore. So what we're trying to do with our mana base is make it work without overly relying on the colorless lands. Spire of Industry is a colorless land that is sometimes super reliable and sometimes not reliable. Something we saw at the end of last format is that the Mardu deck became pretty much black-white.
Yes.
With a very light red splash. And that made its mana work. Something that deck was doing was boarding out of a lot of artifacts in a lot of situations. You're boarding out 4 Heart of Cairns and a lot of sideboard plants. And that was one of the things that made Mardu very powerful was its diversity in sideboarding decisions.
Right.
Specifically, there's that sweet Mike Flores article from a million years ago called Who's the Beatdown?
Yeah.
About role assignment in Magic the Gathering. Which deck's the aggro deck, which deck's the control deck in any given situation. And the strength of Mardu is that it's able to switch roles.
Yes.
It's very good at switching roles. It's very good at switching roles within a game. It's very good at switching roles between games.
Yes.
Typically, decks that are able to switch roles like this are the best decks in formats, not close. Delver in Standard, Delver in Legacy, Fairies in Standard. All these decks were able to assume the role that was best for it to be in a matchup and do that well.
Right.
For Mardu to be in the control role, it can't have a lot of colorless lands because it's actually fairly color intensive.
Because it'll hurt itself a little too much?
It's not that it hurts itself a little too much, it's that you might not draw the combinations of things that work, and then suddenly your control plan kind of falls apart.
Right, when you can't cast things on time, things don't go well.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And specifically with the 3 Spire of Industry, if we are too reliant on Spire of Industry to cast our spells, when we board out our Heart of Cairns because we're not on an aggressive plan, then we can't cast any of our spells and our deck doesn't work.
Right, because you're also cutting the Scrap Heap Scroungers, right?
You almost always keep Scrounger in.
Okay.
because a lot of the matchups, like, you do still have to kill them with damage.
Yes,
and you do still need a certain number of artifacts.
Fair enough.
And this is the artifact that is the least... back in the day, it was you would leave it in because it was the artifact that was least damaged by Release the Gremlins. Because you could just bring it back.
Yeah.
It's just a more consistent artifact to have in the deck because
Definitely.
Because it comes back.
Because it comes back. Cool.
And it does something on its own, where you're moving away from being more of a synergy-based aggro deck and more towards closer to like a mid-rangey jump deck.
Yeah.
And so having the card that does something on its own is more valuable than the card that needs another creature to crew.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
And so 3-Spire of Industry is just trying to lessen our exposure to...
like awkward hands sort of thing?
Yeah, to hands not working because we don't have artifacts in them.
Cool.
A lot of the other cards we play are not difficult on our mana to try to enable this.
Cool. Alright, this is some interesting spice. We have 2 Glorybound Initiate and 0 Veteran Motorist.
Yeah.
Definitely diverging from like the stock list here.
Yeah. This decision is literally for the same reasons as 3-Spire of Industry. We are just trying to make the deck better on mana.
Okay.
Specifically with Veteran Motorist, this deck's good at having white on turn 1 because we have 8 white 1-drops. We need to make sure that we have like 4 planes in our deck. We have all the fast lands. We have a lot of ways to make white on turn 1. But what we don't have a lot of ways to do is make red on turn 2 because we don't want to play a bunch of mountains because mountain sucks. Doesn't cast white spells on turn 1. Also, Spire of Industry on turn 2 almost never helps cast Veteran Motorist on turn 2.
Yeah, you specifically need to
Trade Inspector. Like that, at this point, we're getting like a lot of conditions being necessary to cast Veteran Motorist.
Definitely.
So Veteran Motorist is obviously powerful. The fact that card scries 2 when it comes into play is like kind of unreal.
Yeah, it's super unreal.
It's like absurd. But there's 2 factors that led us to play Glorybound Initiate over it. One is it's easier on the mana and lets us use our Aether Hub mana more reliably on turn 5 to cast Glorybringer and to be casting our black sideboard cards that we felt were essential.
Mm-hmm.
And the other reason is it's randomly way better at attacking than Veteran Motorist against zombies.
Definitely.
Yeah. Glorybound Initiate can attack for 4 and gain U4, which is like relevant in the mirror because it can attack into Gideon in ways that Veteran Motorist can't.
Mm-hmm.
And it also is just good at pushing through damage against zombies. They tend to like overestimate the threat that a 4/4 lifelinker every other turn is.
Underestimate it or overestimate?
Overestimate. Like they'll burn removal spells on it really quickly, or they'll use like a Grasp of Darkness on it, and not realizing that you're a deck with a bunch of Glorybringers in it,
right?
And bring the glory.
Yeah, as you said, like Marduk's very good at switching roles, and I think Glorybound Initiate is an excellent card for switching roles.
It attacks, but also it gains you a bunch of life, which can
exactly.
be oddly relevant sometimes.
Super relevant. 4 life is a lot.
It is a lot. And it will usually get in more than once.
Exactly. Alright, let's talk about the removal package a touch.
Yeah.
You're playing 1 Magma Spray, 2 Cut to Ribbons, 0 Fatal Push, and of course the classic 4 Unlicensed Disintegration.
Yeah, that card's nuts.
That card's nuts.
That card's the reason to play Marty.
Yeah, definitely.
This is a mono-white Unlicensed Disintegration Gideon deck.
Yeah.
It's unreal. So the biggest, like most glaring omission here is obviously the lack of Fatal Push.
Yes.
For the same reasons as all the other things. Fatal Push is uncastable in a red Mardu deck.
Makes sense. Like you're red-white, basically.
Yeah. You can't be Mardu and have mana that works. You can't actually be playing all 3 colors on the regular and having all of these black spells and all these red spells and all these white spells and having your aggressive deck mana base work.
Yeah.
We're just not that...
Just so greedy.
Yeah, it's just absurd. You can't play Fatal Push, Glorybringer, and Veteran Motorist in the same deck. I mean, you can, but like you're gonna lose.
Yeah, fair enough.
You're gonna lose your own mana some percentage of the time. So we wanted that to be more consistent, and also we had this read that Fatal Push wasn't actually going to be any good at this Pro Tour.
And
Fatal Push is garbage against Marvel, obviously.
Yes, terrible.
In the mirror, it's surprisingly bad. It doesn't kill Thalia, which is one of the most important creatures.
Mm-hmm.
It does kill Heart of Kieran.
Yeah, that's really important.
That's the big thing.
Yes.
That was a risk that we decided to take.
Okay.
That we had a main deck that, because our removal was Magma Spray and Cut to Ribbons, was not good against Heart of Kieran.
Fair enough.
I talked to Timer at length about this, actually, and what he concluded for me was that Heart of Kieran was oddly unimportant in the mirror match. Like, while a powerful aggressive card, post-board we had enough removal such that if people are leaving in the full sets of Heart of Kieran against us, that we would be able to make sure that they were unlikely to be crewed and therefore poor.
Mm-hmm.
So that was part of our reasoning for that.
Fair enough.
Also, Magma Spray kills Thalia. That's sick.
That's sick.
There's actually all these 3-drops in the format that obviously push doesn't kill because this deck is really just doesn't get revolt ever.
Yeah.
You have to crack a
A
clue
clue.
off of that, and like cracking a clue can screw up your mana because you can't activate Spire of Industry anymore.
Definitely.
So that's like super weird.
Yep.
But Magma Spray kills Thalia, it kills Rogue Refiner, it
Mhm.
kills Tireless Tracker.
Yes.
It's obviously better than Fatal Push against zombies because it exiles all their low drops. Yeah, this deck, Mardu frequently struggles against Relentless Dead. So if you play a bunch of Magma Sprays, suddenly you don't struggle against Relentless Dead anymore.
Definitely.
So
cool. So you're playing 2 Thalia and 2 Pia, or was it 2 Cultivators Caravan?
2 Cultivators Caravan.
That's right.
Yeah.
So most Mardu decks are only running like 2 3-drops, right? They're running like 2 Cultivators or 2 Pias, or like Aether Fear Harvester, which I'm not really very, very big fan
The
of.
card sucks.
Yeah?
The card always sucked.
I don't like that card at all.
What a lot of decks were doing, you have to maintain a certain a high artifact count in this deck.
Definitely.
And since Walking Ballista is like a blank in this format, it doesn't do anything against any of the decks.
Yep.
You have to play more artifacts elsewhere in the 3-drop slot.
Mm-hmm.
Pianolar is like, it's kind of a sweet card, but it doesn't do anything.
It doesn't do anything.
It's good at like getting cute to push through damage, but this deck...
It's also like it's super high risk. I found playing with Pia. It's like you sack an artifact and then they just like push your Heart of Kieran and you just lose the game.
Yeah.
It's really abysmal.
Yeah, that ability can be pretty sketchy.
Yeah.
But the thing that's most important to remember about Pianolar is that it's very much so an aggro card.
Yes.
And what we're trying to do with this build of this deck is we're trying to create the deck we're trying to create the Mardu deck that is the best at switching roles.
Fair enough.
And Thalia is the best of these cards in multiple roles.
Definitely.
Much better on defense because that's first strike. It's
Mhm.
better at attacking. It's better at disrupting.
Mhm.
Like, the only thing it isn't better at is pushing the last 3 points of damage.
Cool.
Which is not really something that not a situation we're trying to be in most of the time, based on our build of our deck. The Cultivators Caravans are because, again, we need
artifacts.
We need artifacts, we also need our mana to work.
Yes.
Glorybringer is good. It's very good. It's
very
absurdly good. The card's obscene. It's obscenely good. And we happen to be playing this ramp spell that's also an artifact that's also a 5/5.
Yes.
The Cultivator's Caravan's a bit of a clunky card, but it's also absurdly powerful.
Yes. It's
So,
very versatile.
Also, we sideboard a ton of Magma Sprays, and the best turn 3 against zombies in the format is Cultivator's Caravan, Magma Spray, untap Glorybringer. So
seems good, man.
That works. That works real good. That works real good.
We touched on Glorybringer. I just want to ask the most fundamental Mardu question I think of the day right now that the jury's still out on is Glorybringer versus Avacyn in your Mardu your Mardu decks.
Yeah. Obviously, my answer is snap Glorybringer, not close.
Okay.
Bring the glory. We're playing Glory Tribal. You bring the glory, and you're bound by the glory. Glory bound, glory brung. Anyways, Avacyn was super sweet in Mardu. That card's awesome in this deck.
Yeah.
Does a lot of cool things, makes your attacks safe, it makes your blocks safe, but it's super choreographed in this deck. When you're passing or whatever, leaving out 5 mana, everyone knows you got Avacyn.
Right.
And so, what a lot of people were thinking about when talking about this is that obviously Avacyn beats Glorybringer. They play Glorybringer, they attack you with Glorybringer, targeting your creature, you Avacyn to save your creature, and then block, right?
Yeah.
But playing Glorybringer into 5 mana and attacking is just a lunatic
It's just
play.
a terrible play.
Yeah. And so you do something else. They sit there with their Avacyn. Eventually they play it so as not to waste that turn.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you kill it with Glorybringer.
Yeah.
So that comes up like a fair amount, which is kind of surprising and kind of embarrassing for the Avacyn player.
Definitely.
But that wasn't the real reason why we played Glorybringer. The reason we played Glorybringer is because Avacyn is only good if you have Walking Ballista in your deck.
Is that
Typically,
true?
it's only good against zombies when you have
Walking Ballista?
Walking Ballista in your deck. Avacyn is very bad against zombies if you don't have Walking Ballista in your deck because you can't trigger it at will.
Yeah, I've been playing Mardu online, and the amount of times I've unlicensed Disintegration my own Thraben Inspector or Fatal Push my own Thraben Inspector is really high.
Yeah.
Very high.
And so that's powerful and works, but is also
it's also not good. It's not how you want to be using your cards.
Exactly. I feel like if we can be mitigating that situation by playing cards that are good all of the time instead of cards that are only good some of the time.
Right.
That's again one of the things we're trying to do with this deck is try to minimize the ways in which it's a synergy based aggro deck and maximize the ways in which it's a role switching tempo deck. I hate the word tempo in this context, but to get ahead and stay ahead.
Right.
Also, Avacyn is hot garbage against Marvel And Glorybringer is
terrible.
amazing against Marvel because it just sends and kills them quickly.
Is it
Also
that
clears
much?
the way for your ground creatures quite frequently.
That's true. I guess the 4 damage of actually attacking like with haste makes a lot of a difference.
Yeah, having your 5-drop be a dragon instead of an angel makes it so that they have to like hit Ulamog off their first spin and not their second one.
What about with the new builds running Chandra Flamecaller? Like who's gonna try and like sweep your board, which probably isn't very good against you anyways.
Yeah,
but
that card's bad against Mardu.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Doesn't really do anything.
It didn't seem to.
I mean, it's like obviously a super powerful card. I played it in my deck. It was in my sideboard.
Yeah,
I think it was awesome. I love that card. I've played it as much of it as I can, but we don't care about that.
Fair enough.
You can wrath our board, but like we have like what 2 creatures in play.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll play another one to grew my heart of Kieran. Like
definitely,
it's fine.
Fair enough. One more question about the deck list.
Mm-hmm.
In your sideboard, you have 0 Chandra Torch of Defiance, which is an unusual number. 2 is the very common, and you are running 2 Oath of Lily, so you are sort of like running this edict effect that is good with walkers, and then actually like cutting the number of walkers. So I was curious about the justification there.
So we're playing 3 Planeswalkers in the sideboard still, which is a pretty stock number. It's 2 Nahiri and 1 Chandra Flamecaller.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's risky to be playing Chandra Torch of Defiance and Glorybringer in the same deck because of the over-reliance on the colored mana sources again.
So you really are leaning mono white here as much as possible.
Yeah, they're just trying to make the mana work. There's 3 Disallow in the sideboard for the Marvel matchup, and so
you dispossess.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Man, I wish I could board the 3 Disallow. I love that card. You can Gear Hulk that card.
Yeah, man.
That's the dream. That's pure magic right there. All of this is fake. This is all garbage.
We just gotta play more Gear Hulks. We just more Gear Hulk mirrors.
Counterspells are pure. Anyways, it's for the 3 dispossesses in the sideboard.
Yeah,
and so you just need to be. I want to be as conservative with the mana as possible. And while Nahiri is worse when you're on the offensive, frequently when we're boarding, or actually, I'm not gonna lie, every time when we're boarding into our Planeswalker plane, we are on the defensive.
Definitely.
Obviously, Chandra's way better than Nahiri in control matchups when we're on the aggressive and boarding into Planeswalkers. But our deck's so absurd against control that it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't, you don't need to help that matchup that much.
Can't lose that matchup. They have to counter Nahiri too, otherwise it's going to start ultimating Glorybringers into play pretty quickly, and that gets out of hand. Also, there's a lot to be said about how like Chandra affects the board more quickly, and how...
yes, like she's really good against zombies, right? Yeah. She like... she works with a strategy.
She's fine. She's part of a reasonable strategy against them.
Yeah, just like removal.
Something that also comes up a lot is that the exile is very important again in that matchup.
Definitely Nahiri, yeah.
They're able to actually attack you very frequently with Relentless Dead because it has menace, and where Chandra is like really bad against Relentless Dead, Nahiri's amazing against Relentless Dead.
Definitely, it's a bit of a trade-off, right?
Yeah, so that's the thing. It also gets rid of Liliana's Mastery randomly, which is pretty important.
True.
People will randomly play Castouts still, and Nahiri embarrasses Castouts.
It does indeed.
Also, ultimating Nahiri in this deck is absurdly good, because Glorybringer, Exert, that goes back to your hand.
Right, and then you can just exert it again next turn.
Yeah, that's like completely and utterly disgusting.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and Oath of Lily is just good. But you need the Planeswalker count, that's why we're playing here.
That makes sense. So, before we move into like the actual PT, like how happy were you with your deck list? You seem like... I messaged you and you were like, my deck is perfect. I'm really happy with it. Was it perfect?
I thought this deck list was extremely good.
Okay.
My favorite thing about it was the fact that we had a very coherent sideboard plan for all of the zombie decks.
Mm-hmm.
All the zombies players thought they were like mad favorite against Mardu.
Yeah.
And something that I noticed against my zombies players is that they all re-sideboarded before game 3. All of them like went and pulled 3 cards out of their deck and put 3 cards back in.
What cards were they?
Transgress the Mind every time.
Oh, interesting.
Because they realized that we weren't doing what every other Mardu player was still doing, which is trying to still be aggressive against a deck that you could never win in an aggressive posture against.
Right.
And we were switching roles to being a
so
proper control deck.
Transgress in against you.
Yeah, and then for game 3 they would like go and bring Transgress in.
Right.
We had this effective zombies plan where we would side in Oath of Liliana, Magma Spray, Nahiri, Chandra
6.
Chandra 6. Fumigate, I don't know if I said that. And then just boarding out all of our like Toolcraft Exemplars, Heart of Kieran's, like what you would do with the old deck.
Mm-hmm.
And we would lose most of our game 1s because it's a bad matchup.
Right.
And then never come close to losing games 2 or 3.
Jeez.
So we would win against zombies every time, which is not a thing that the deck was supposed to be able to do.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was awesome. I felt like that was like a deck building success.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad I figured out. I'm glad I invented Chandra Flamecaller, you know? Seriously, we stumbled upon that card like the day before the Pro Tour. We're like, oh, this solves that matchup really well.
I mean, it seems great on paper and in practice. Like, it's just, it's exactly what you want.
Yeah, it made like a lot of sense. I thought this list was like pretty sweet for the Pro Tour. The risks of losing to Heart of Kirin aside.
Fair enough. That's
totally one of the notable weaknesses that I came across once, and one of my losses pretty strictly was to my opponent at every point during the match having a Heart of Kirin in play that I couldn't interact with.
Definitely. That sounds really scary.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how we're supposed to change the deck to fix that.
You just gotta get more greedy and play more Fatal Push, man.
Yeah, we can't cast that card. I'm thinking maybe I'm supposed to have a second release to Gremlin in the sideboard, or at least just one other card in the sideboard that's able to interact with that card.
Fair enough.
So we have a lot of sideboard cards that don't touch Heart of Kirin. I also wasn't sure if that was just like some kind of like, just like a knee-jerk reaction to losing a match that I felt I wasn't supposed to. And that actually the high magma spray count post board actually deals with that well by being able to like routinely exile the things that are crewing it. But we'll see. I haven't jammed much more Mardo and Moto afterwards to figure that out. But it is something to keep in mind that this list is a little bit weak in the mirror if people are leaving in Heart of Kirin, which I don't think they're actually supposed to.
Fair enough. All right, let's talk limited briefly at the PT. So we're at the PT. It's Friday. You're sitting down for your first draft.
Yeah. It's pitch black.
Is it really?
Yeah, this was really weird. One of the like weirdest things about this PT was how dark it was the whole time. They have this whole like super fancy stage setup that like looks awesome on camera. It's like really classy. They have all these like all the Sightline Productions guys going around filming things. They got all these photographers going around, but everything's really dark. It's like kind of hard to see.
It looks really dark.
It's kind of hard to see your cards.
Fair enough.
I was sitting at a table, my first draft pod. First off, I was passing to Nick Harms, the 13-year-old from Toronto.
Oh, yeah,
true. Won the PTQ at face.
Yeah, true,
and won
Nick.
the RPTQ. I was passing to him in the first draft, so that was hilarious. There was also Spencer Barge from Orangeville, so another Ontario guy in my pod.
Cool.
And also at this table were Zvi Moshevitz and Ari Lax complaining about how dark it was. And they both have like really loud, really unique laughs and are kind of just the loudest people in the room at all times.
Yeah.
There was like a solid like 10-minute delay before we started the draft for coverage to catch up. And it was just like, these guys are going off. It was something else. Whining about how dark it was. Anyways, what were you going to ask?
How'd your first draft go? Like
terribly.
Were you privy to the it's a super fast format information?
Yeah. There was a GP the weekend before where
that's right.
Where obviously all the pros are not gonna like withhold limited information at a limited GP. It's not really how that works.
Yep.
And obviously Tyler and I had done loosely a billion drafts on Moto before that. We did a bunch of in-person drafts. We had our pick order. Mm-hmm. We knew that it was very good to be very aggressive in this format. But obviously that every seat isn't set up to be aggressive.
Definitely.
The things with this format is that the aggro decks are really good, and there's also a lot of tools for beating aggro. So Pac-1 picked one, Insult to Injury.
That card's awesome.
Yeah, the red Aftermath card. That card was sick and won me a match not close. It was also the only match I won in that draft. My deck was a monstrosity. I had no idea. The signals that I was getting made no sense. It was a nightmare. I was in 4 different colors at different points.
No way.
I ended up having to play. I was a red-white aggro deck.
Yeah.
With double cut to ribbons.
All right.
And an Insult to Injury.
That sounds pretty good.
Splashing black.
For the cut? For the ribbons?
For the cut to ribbons, but also for 3 random playables. Just to get up to 23 cards. This is a 16 land format. I had to splash to go up to 23 cards, including splashing a Pitiless Vizier.
Which one's that one?
The 3 in a black 4/2
that
says
no.
when you cycle a card,
it gets indestructible?
I had like 1 cycler in my deck.
Oh no.
So that deck was a pile.
Jeez.
I still won round 1 somehow.
Nice.
Against a nice guy from France named Remy Fortier. He was really nice. We actually had it wasn't a fun match. I destroyed him. It was kind of embarrassing, actually.
Do you know how he did in the draft pod?
No, I didn't look up this stuff afterwards.
Fair enough.
And the next 2 rounds I lost to like consecutive turn 4 Decimator Beetles like 4 games in a row.
Dude, Decimator Beetle's a messed up card.
Yeah, it was kind of unreal. Also, my deck had no like removal other than cut, and that card's a 4/5.
It is a 4/5. You have one
like,
turn to kill it, maybe. If they put the counter on
I'm
it.
just staring at my hand. I'm like, alright. I'll play Bloodlust Insider. A 1-mana 1/1. Go.
Just cleans up your whole board.
Just so you know that I'm basically conceding right now. I just don't have the guts to do it for another 2 turns.
Fair enough.
So yeah, that draft was a disaster. But I had 3 awesome cards in it, and the rest was garbage.
So you did end up making day 2. Do you have anything funny to tell us about your day 2 draft?
Before I get into day 2,
sure.
I want to briefly touch on the rest of day 1 in Constructed.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Might as well make this a little chronological.
Okay, that sounds fair.
So, obviously I'm playing a Mardu deck.
Of
a
course.
Mardu deck like kind of blinged out for the zombies matchup that we know is going to be like 20% of the room. It was more than that, which was sweet.
Yep.
We're like prepared for the mirror, got a good plan against Marvel. Alright. I 1-2'd my draft. Like, cool, my standard deck's great. I'm going to 5-0. I'm going to win 3 on the next draft. I'm going to top 8 and win this Pro Tour. Easy. Check the pairings. They had this new pairing system where you don't see the name of your opponent.
Oh.
It just tells you your table and your name.
Oh, for scouting and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's supposed to stop scouting, but like it's stupid because you can also just look at your table name and wait until you see the other guy with the table name on the scroll.
Yeah.
So I did that. I want to know. I don't want to know because I want like some kind of like advantage sitting down for the match.
Yeah.
It's because I want to be able to go sit down for the match and be like, oh hey, John.
Yeah,
John?
know your opponent's name. Yeah,
Daniel, nice to meet you. Like it's just for the politeness of the interaction.
Definitely.
So I wait another 20 seconds, have the thing scroll down, and it's like, oh, I'm at table 9,000. I lost. Table like 346. Makihito Mihara. Deece. Yeah, just like a Hall of Famer, one of the best players of all time. Also Japanese, so he's playing something like completely unreasonable that I'll never win against.
Yes.
I played him at my last PT. He destroyed me. He was playing some like sweet rally deck before rally was a thing in standard with like Whisperwood Elementals. Some like complete out of left field nightmare that I knew I could never beat.
Right, yeah.
So I'm like, alright, like I'm 1-2. This is gonna be a nightmare, whatever. I sit down and he's playing New Perspectives combo.
No!
New Perspectives. He plays a top cycle land on turn 1 and I saw it because I know I've lost already. That matchup for Mardu, for those of you who don't know, is unwinnable for me. It is 100-0 for them. I play some creatures, and then they fog me and kill me on turn 5.
Yep.
Alright, cool. So I beat him 2-0.
For real?
Yeah.
No way!
He never drew a New Perspective, so
yes!
this deck of only cyclers never drew the only card in the deck that does anything, so I won.
No way.
Yeah. So Mihara's on team Last Samurai, so he's got this like sweet hoodie. It says like Last Samurai on the front, like some Japanese text. So like looks super sweet.
Yeah.
Next round, I look at the pairings. Masashi Oiso. Oh, who's that? Later, I figure out he's a Hall of Famer and has 4 Pro Tour topics because every random Japanese player on the Pro Tour has 1/6 of them and is the best player in history, and you don't know who they are.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I sit down and he's wearing a Last Samurai hoodie with the Japanese characters. I think. No.
No thanks.
Please no. He goes turn 1 irrigated farmland, kills me on turn 5 with New Perspectives.
Yep. Now you're getting that sweet karma coming back, eh?
I'm thinking like, what did I do to deserve this? How have I played only against New Perspectives combo?
Weren't there only like 6 pilots?
There were 7 pilots of New Perspectives in the tournament. Next round.
So you lost.
I lost that round,
okay,
obviously.
Okay.
He drew New Perspectives, so I
you
died.
lose. Yeah. True.
Next round, I play against, I don't remember. I played against some zombies guy. I beat him. This is Italian guy. He was really salty. Because I top decked the second Fumigate to beat him. Swag. I beat Joe Lissad on Black White Zombies the next round because Mardu's actually super favored in that matchup.
Yes,
and
super favored.
That's why you shouldn't play Black White Zombies. You should play Mono Black.
Did you see the
Zombies.
percentage? It's like 30% for Black White Zombies in that matchup. It's abysmal.
It's like actually weird. Somehow cutting Relentless dead and having all your lands come into play tap makes it so you can't beat Mardu.
You're just not. I don't know. You're not consistent enough. It's so bizarre.
It's crazy how huge a swing that is.
Yeah, it's actually ridiculous.
Yeah,
it goes from a 60% to like a 30%.
Yeah, I play Mono Black. It's way better.
Fair enough.
And so last round, some Spanish guy who I've never met.
Mm-hmm.
And he plays on 1. I'm 4-3, so like I'm feeling kind of good. Like my deck's great. I'm beating the matchups I'm supposed to. That new perspectives thing was like whatever. That's like a wash. Pretend that didn't happen.
Yeah.
I'm gonna 5-3. Will be at like a reasonable position going into day 2. My opponent goes turn 1, irrigated farmland.
No.
Kills me on turn 5 with new perspectives combo twice.
No way.
There were 7 of them in the room. On day 1, I played against 3 of them.
Oh no.
So, yeah, you know what? I 4-4'd, you know what? I literally couldn't have done anything about it.
Yeah.
So, whatever. Like,
you actually won one of the unwinnables.
I know. Like, I can't ask for more than that. It's like,
at least.
Normally I'd be, like, really upset about the 4-4, but whatever. It's fine.
Fair enough.
It's fine.
So after excellent matchups in day 1, you're sitting down for day 2 draft.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about day 2 draft. Did this go any better for you?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting actually. My pod was had a bunch of like mid to high tier like European pros in it, and that's like scarier to me than the random notable Americans because the Euros are much better at draft than the North Americans. I had like Oliver Pollock-Rotman, Andreas Gantz, Fabian Dickman, who's Patrick Dickman's brother. Who's actually like very good at Magic too. They're twins. They're splinter twins actually. Which is sick. And yeah, so that pod went a lot better for me. I first picked the Edifice of Authority. The Icy Manipulator artifact.
That's
and
awesome.
went into like a fairly controlling blue-white skies deck.
Nice.
That I thought was quite good. I lost my first round to Oliver Pollock-Rotman, who is platinum and very good. We had a really close, really awesome match, which made me very happy because I got to play exactly 2 matches of Magic that were in any way interesting the previous day. And I played against New Perspectives 3 times. My draft deck was a piece of crap.
Yeah.
So I was really happy to play a good match. Lost it. That's fine. Whatever. Won the next 2 and like some more really interesting close matches, and I was feeling great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that draft went a lot nicer.
And then constructed for the rest of the day. Did you face any more new perspectives?
I think if I did, I would have just like my opponent would have played like irrigated farmland or whatever, and I would have dropped. Like just, I can't emotionally handle playing 4 of the 7 people in a room. Also, only one of them day 2'd, I think. So
okay, fair enough.
That deck's win percentage of that PT was like 17% or something.
Low.
Like that deck is colossally unplayable.
I think it's terrible. Yeah.
It is so bad. It also can't even beat zombies because they all have a bunch of Lost Legacies in their sideboard.
Yeah, just
it obviously can't beat that card. It beats me because I'm the fish who chose to play Dispossessed, I guess.
Yeah, like, fair enough.
Whatever, it's fine. Yeah, no. For the rest of the day, I played against a bunch of zombies 1 or 2 more times. Played against Marvel twice. I played against Control once. They were all pretty reasonable matches.
Cool.
I lost a couple of them. Actually, I played against another Japanese guy that day who was playing, I thought, Marvel. I wasn't sure, but I thought it was Marvel. He was playing Rug, he was playing like the energy creatures. Mm-hmm. But then on like turn 6 or something, he played Brutal Expulsion.
Ooh.
I'm like, okay, you're not playing Marvel, are you? Alright, I see what you're doing here. This is a cute mid-range deck you've got going here. Alright. He'd played a lot of creatures in this game, like the Manadoric, he played Channeler Initiate, he played all of the
Rogue Refiners?
Yeah, he played Rogue Refiners, he played Whirler Virtuoso, and like was spending his energy on Whirler Virtuoso. Which meant obviously there's no Marvel in this deck.
Right.
And I think Channeler Initiate was a pretty clear cut call of like, oh, there's probably like Bristling Hydras in this guy's deck. He's going like
Glorybringers.
Yeah, Glorybringer, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Cool. So I board into like my kind of controlling plan. I bring in like Oath of Liliana, I bring in Fumigates. And let's just say in game 2 there were a lot of Torrential Gear Hooks and Pull from Tomorrows.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a guy went Pull for 7 and I thought,
no.
Damn it.
Jeez.
Oh! Like I'm sitting there with a Fumigate in my hand thinking I'm a fish.
Did you win that match?
No, I lost the game 3.
Oh no!
I didn't do anything.
Did you switch it to the aggro plan again?
I switched into kind of like an in-between plan.
Fair enough.
But he was very clearly on a very controlling plan against me, so I tried to be a bit more aggressive and have like the full set of Toolcraft exemplars in, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting. It was interesting that like the Japanese players are always so willing to take like huge risks in deck construction. Yeah. But always to have them be like, they're always really well thought through. You know that like 6 of them sat together in a room for a week and like decided on sideboarding a Pull from Tomorrow.
Fair enough.
And it was good.
Yeah, it was good. Cool. Did you see anything really spicy other than that list? Was that the spiciest list?
That deck, I played against New Perspectives 3 times.
Okay.
So I don't know if I've complained about that yet. But, the spiciest deck at the PT, like, by far, I didn't get to play against it, but I got to watch Hayne play it for like 20 minutes one match, was that Black-Green Aristocrats deck that Team Face to Face came up with. It had Vizier of the Menagerie, it had
Bontu,
it had just everything sweet. All the
Ormondal.
Yeah. It was just dope. It was a Cryptolith Rights deck.
Yeah, it's a sweet list.
Kind of went off with Vizier of the Menagerie sometimes.
Yeah, it seems sick.
And that was awesome. He played like a really long match against Marvel, where early on he had lost Legacy Ulamog, then lost Legacy Chandra. And then suddenly this guy couldn't do anything.
So that's how you lose a game.
They went on for a million turns.
Right.
Neither player could win, and Hayne won the match 1-0-1.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they drew game 2.
Jeez.
So that was sweet.
That's pretty fun.
That deck looked awesome. I don't think I'd ever have the patience to play it, but that deck looks sweet.
Yeah, for sure. So how did you finish the PT?
I finished technically 8-8 because I scooped to Oliver 2 in the last round after crushing him. Not going to brag about it, but easy. Oh yeah, we're dabbing right now. So 9-7 in matches played, 8-8 on the record.
So but 9-7 basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for you, man. That's a great result.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like
I wanted better.
Yeah, I mean, of course. But still.
I'm at peace with 9-7, given that I played 2 matches that were colossally unwinnable and shouldn't have happened. And whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It
was just, I think, New Perspective seems like a terrible choice.
I can't defend it.
All right. I wanted to ask you a little bit of specifics on comparing your list to the list that I'm really into right now, which are the 8-2 Mardu lists that were posted on the mothership post the PT results. So these guys are on Avacyn. Instead of Dispossess, they're on Transgress the Mind, that sort of thing. And so I kind of want to hear your opinions on those lists, and maybe you can convince me to get off of them and to get onto your list instead. Yeah.
So we're talking about Sebastian Puzzo and Noah Walker's list.
That is correct.
The 8-2 in standard list from the PT.
Yes.
So there are some things I like a lot about these lists and some things I don't. I like half of their sideboards a lot, and I like half of their main decks a lot.
Okay.
I think it's defensible to be playing Veteran Motorist. Yes. I think that card's obviously very good. Obviously, a lot of much better players than me played it.
Yes.
I'm not sure if it's optimal, but it's definitely more powerful.
Okay.
In these lists that are deciding to go heavier on red and playing a bunch of mountains because they want to play like Chandra Torture Defiance and stuff.
In the main board, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very reasonable to be playing Veteran Motorist.
Okay.
However, like it's nonsensical to be playing Fatal Push in these decks. We're like moving away from having additional black sources, and they're having to do things like play no Aether Hub and play like Triple Canyon Slough 1 Foreboding Ruins.
Yeah, I mean they're also only playing like 3 Fire of Industry.
Yeah, which I think still makes sense. Like they're still boarding into like Painful Truths and Oath of Liliana and stuff.
Fair enough.
Like,
fair enough.
There's 2 Soren Grim Nemesis.
Yeah, that seems crazy to me. I cut those right away.
So Soren was sick, but like it just doesn't make sense if Chandra Flamecaller is like obviously better in some matchups.
I think Chandra Flamecaller is the go-to Planeswalker right now.
I think, and no offense to Noah, he's a friend and he's very good.
Mm-hmm.
He's awesome. I like him a lot. But the sideboard seems ill-conceived.
Yeah, it doesn't. I didn't like it at all.
I like Transgress the Mind a lot.
Yes.
I think it's arguably better against the changing faces of Marvel decks after the PT.
Definitely.
They're moving away from being all in on Marvel. They're doing more other things.
Yeah, Dispossess can get really embarrassing game 2.
Exactly. So I'm no longer on Dispossess being that good. Mm-hmm. Dispossess was good against Marvel when they were somewhat all in on it, or at least like medium all in on it. I don't really know to what degree that might be the case. But it's also only good when you're disrupting them and it's good. Sorry, when disrupting them is good and it's backed up by a lot of pressure.
Yes.
Which Mardu is good at doing.
Yes.
So like Dispossess is bad in a lot of decks. It's bad in zombies in that matchup because you're not actually applying very much pressure.
Right, and that 3 mana is really valuable to them.
That deck's oddly slow.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting and non-intuitive.
Right.
So yeah, I like the idea of playing Transgress in coming weeks. I think that's smart.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like a lot of the other cards in these deck sideboards. I think Radiant Flames is okay against zombies, but they get above 3 very frequently.
Yeah.
And the huge life gain off Fumigate is important.
Very
also,
important.
you don't actually want to be wrathing them on turn 3. You actually just want to be wrathing them on like turn 7.
Right.
You want to be like playing a Planeswalker and like magma spraying them a couple times. You want to like get your stuff going. You want to get a board, a small board with like a couple blockers.
Yeah.
They get a huge board. They go off with their diagraph, and then you fumigate. And then you win.
Yeah, I've been playing a slightly different idea where I'm just like boarding into all my removal and trying to just kill every threat. So I'm just like push your dude, cut your Diagraph Colossus.
If you don't have sprays, that's never going to
work. So the thing is, if you can remove enough stuff, Relentless Dead just doesn't matter because you just never block it, and it just like pings you for 2, and like, or you just chump it if you have to.
If it can ever get back a Diagraph Colossus,
it's abysmal. Yeah, you immediately lose. So it's like a different sort of game plan, but maybe you're right. Maybe I should just be like...
I think that plan's a bit ambitious.
Fair enough.
Also, I think Painful Truth is garbage.
Yeah, I think Painful Truth is also bad.
I think the only situation in which that card is actually good... Sorry, obviously Painful Truth is a very powerful card.
Of course.
Subjectively a powerful card. It is also objectively hard to cast in this deck.
Definitely.
And I think it's only particularly good against control, which, again, we're not playing cards because they're good against control.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need help.
You know how to beat control? You simply play Thraven the Spectre, and then they concede because they've lost.
Yep. That card's good.
Yeah, I don't think that's particularly good. Having like a cut to ribbons in the sideboard doesn't make much sense to me. There's a lot of like big clunky planeswalkers. Mm-hmm. I like the control plan in my sideboard a lot more than this one. But I like the Transgress a lot.
Fair enough. In this list, they're running Avacons. Do you really think they should just be playing Glorybringers instead?
I mean, I think you can't play you can't play Glorybringer and Fatal Push in the same deck.
Fair enough.
The mana doesn't work.
What about Avacon and Fatal Push?
I mean, I just don't think you can play Fatal Push in this deck. That's just... I think it's just ambitious and makes your mana sketchy.
Fair enough.
I like having my lands come into play untapped, so I can be playing Planeswalkers and powerful creatures on turns 4 and 5. And you can't really do that when you have a high density of cards like Canyon Slam for Forbidden Burns. Mind you, I'm only playing one less than them, so...
Fair enough.
I think my deck actually is too conservative on its mana base, and could be playing like one less tap land if it really wanted to, but I wasn't willing to make that cut.
Cool.
Timer honestly was playing a list with 23 lands in it.
Ooh, greedy.
Yeah, with the double Cultivator's Caravan, and because his reasoning for that was very interesting. It was basically because Mardu doesn't struggle with hitting the appropriate number of lands, it struggles with hitting the appropriate colors of lands.
Right.
So you're not playing 25 lands in a Mardu deck because you need to be casting 6 drops or whatever.
Or you want to hit Gideon on 4 every time.
Yeah, you're getting it because you need to be hitting, you need X white sources on turn 1.
Yeah.
You also need a certain number of red sources on turn 2 and turn
black
4.
Sources.
Black sources on turn 3. And to do that, you actually have to play more lands than is like the mathematically reasonable number for your mana curve.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you make it such that your mana curve is significantly less strenuous on your mana, and then kind of cheat a little bit with Cultivator's Caravan, you can play a lower land count. Yep. These lists are playing 25 lands. I played 24.
Yeah, I'm on 24 and 2 caravans right now.
It might be mathematically possible to play 20.
Yep.
I wasn't willing to do it.
Yeah.
But that's an area to explore with Mardu in the future.
Cool. Do you want to look at the other list?
There we go. Sebastian Pazzo. This was a Pia Nalar list. I don't think that card's good.
The thing about Pia is that it does crew Heart of Kiran, but I've been really impressed with Cultivator's Caravan.
Yeah, there's also caravans in this deck.
Oh, as well?
Yeah.
So you think they should be Thalias?
I mean, this deck's just its main deck's fine. It's fairly focused on being aggressive.
Yeah.
I do think Thalia is better. I think it's also easier to cast.
Yep, definitely. This deck's mostly white.
This deck is absolutely fine. Again, I don't like its sideboard very much.
Fair enough.
It's closer to mine. It's quite similar. I like it.
Fair enough.
But I think playing one Oath of Liliana is a little weird.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of... You got to dedicate yourself to that plan. Also, as for reasons explained, I don't really care for Chandra Torture Defiance.
Fair enough.
Something that this guy's doing, though, is sideboarding Sky Sovereign.
Yes.
Which I think is very good in the coming weeks for the Zombies matchup.
So
I do think Chandra's better, but Sky Sovereign is also a very passable card, especially if you plan on being somewhat aggressive in the matchup.
My concern with Sky Sovereign is, are you cutting your Toolcraft exemplars in that matchup?
Yes.
Yeah, so you are cutting some crews.
Makes it hard to crew, but typically by that point, the idea is you should be having access to a Toolcraft exemplar. Not Toolcraft.
Scrap Heap Scrounger?
A Scrap Heap Scrounger.
Yeah, fair enough.
I personally don't like that kind of strategy of trying to pick away at zombies.
Okay.
I like trying to either go extremely... I like trying to go extremely big on them.
Fair enough.
So,
fair enough. That. I guess it's it still remains to be seen what the correct way to do it is, but it's still really cool to see your way of doing it. Definitely. Yeah. Touching on your list in comparison to those lists, Do you think your list was like the right list, or in comparison to theirs, for example, or like for the PT, or like for the future metagame?
Going forward for this weekend, if I were
Yeah,
to
like
want to
looking
play,
toward Montreal, for example.
yeah, if I were to want to play Mardu this weekend, which I'm not 100% sold on,
Fair enough.
I would want to be playing very likely my main deck.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe with a push instead of the Magma
Spray.
Maybe. I think it's close. And in the sideboard, I would definitely want to not be playing Dispossess. I would want to be playing Transgress.
Cool.
But otherwise, I still think all of the reasoning that I think makes... This is cocky, but I think all the reasoning that makes my list superior is still there.
Okay.
It has a superior mana base. It's better at casting its spells. Its playing against zombies is better than a lot of these decks.
Fair enough. Cool.
And I think it's sweet.
Do you want to geek out about the top 8 a little bit?
The actual matches were like all terrible.
Yeah,
but, like the people who were great.
Yeah, exactly. I was like really excited.
I'm so happy that Jerry won, but I also would have been equally happy if Yuya won.
I wanted Yuya to win so bad.
I mean, rooting against Jerry T makes you un-American, and you're now no longer allowed across the border. Just
wow.
so you know. Jerry T is the greatest person in his... No, Jerry T's awesome.
I've never met him, so
okay,
I can't attest. He's
super nice. He's just like a super pleasant character. Everyone who knows him loves him. Like, he's awesome, and everyone should want him to win. That said, despite being North American, I would have loved Yuya to win because not low key. Actually, it's not low key at all. It's literally high key.
High key.
A huge Yuya fanboy. So he's the best player of all time. He's so much smarter than everyone else. Whenever we think he makes a play mistake, it's actually that we don't understand how to play Magic and that he's a god.
Yep.
Everyone's like, he was supposed to harness lightning
the Crypt Breaker.
Yeah, the Crypt Breaker in game 5 or 4, whatever it was, and he would have won otherwise. Nah, dude.
He just knows.
He knew.
He knew.
He knew it was wrong to hit that Glory Bringer. And then he didn't lose that game because he didn't hit the Glory Bringer. He lost that game because he drew 14 lands in a row later. Like,
yeah, exactly.
He clearly had this analysis where, like, actually the only cards that are important for me to harness lightning are the 3-drops.
Yeah, like Diregraph Colossus, yeah.
And the Lord. And it's
Lord.
Specifically okay to let him kind of go off with that. Because my deck has more master removal and goes off better than his, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
sick.
I'm sure he had a reason. I'm sure it was so much better than any of our comprehensions of Magic. Right?
I respect that opinion a lot.
Something that was cool about that top 8 is I was watching the announcement. Getting to watch the top 8 announcement live is pretty sweet.
Yeah,
and so they went through it. Like, they did the first 6, like the people who had records of
the people that were
better
locked.
than 11-4. Yeah, they went through the locks and like, yo, this is a pretty sweet top 8. We got some good players here. And they're like, all right, cool. Let's move on to the 11-4s. And Marshall Sutcliffe's like, all right, in 7th place, Ephro. I'm like, all right, this is getting better. And in 8th place, Yuya. I'm like, what? This top 8's crazy.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
That was sweet. And then there was all more Marvel decks. So. And it got boring real fast. But, whatever.
Fair enough. Let's look at next week moving forward. And like, we're going to Montreal, both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to be battling it out over there. What do you recommend people play at Montreal?
I strongly recommend playing a Marvel deck at Montreal.
For sure.
If you are trying to win,
yeah,
you should, and you're playing a GP or, for that matter, a PPTQ this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Or a standard showdown this weekend, or whatever you're playing, FNM, whatever.
Yep.
And you're trying to win, you should be playing Team or Marvel.
100%.
Yes, there should probably be a bunch of Chandras in your deck.
Oh, the Chandra version. Do you think it's better than the spell
Chandra
version?
There's probably an in-between that's actually the best thing.
Fair enough.
I went and played a league with Yuya's build immediately after the end of the top 8, because I'm addicted. And it looked really bad, so I don't know.
Fair enough.
That guy's just a god. I'm just not smart enough to play his decks. I'm pretty sure Chandra 6 is like the future of that deck. I'm not really sure how to build it, but I'm pretty sure you should be playing that deck if you're trying to win.
So would you say that Teamer Marvel is the best deck?
Yeah.
With high certainty?
Yeah. I'm unlikely to play it because I hate it.
I hate it too.
I find it dreadful to play. I find it dreadful to play against. So
Agreed.
I'm probably going to try to just have a way to beat it.
I like how we're both Mardu players. We both just hate Marvel like vehemently.
So boring.
It's just not enjoyable for either player.
I played probably like, I don't know, 10 something, 10, 15 leagues on Moto with varieties of Marvel decks, and at no point did I ever enjoy myself.
Yeah, it's just not that fun, man.
Like
I also spent some Marvel.
Ulamog, type sorry in chat. Exile your 2 lands. Go. Cool, I won.
I won the match.
Wow, I deserved that.
I've been there, man. I've been there.
I rolled my 30% and won. Wow, I'm so talented. I don't like winning that way. It's not fun.
All right, let's have a couple wrap up questions, I guess,
sure.
just to end this off. What did you learn from playing this PT that was new to you, or
that I'm the best? No, I'm kidding. I'm definitely not the best, as my record showed.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that, especially with the new Moto release calendar, that even if you're not a pro player on a pro team, if you put a lot of hard work into developing the deck that you're playing for a major tournament, taking into account the people around you who you respect, and just working very hard on a deck list, you can have a deck that is as good or better than the decks that the pro teams come up with. The second best Japanese team played New Perspectives at this pro tournament.
Right.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good point.
You can be smarter than the best teams.
Definitely. That's a really good point. Any hot tech you'd like to share? Anything spicy? I remember you told me you had some zombies tech you had, or
yeah, that was just Chandra Flamecaller though.
Fair enough.
I thought I was a genius, but secretly everyone
figured it out. Fair enough.
I guess it's not really tech, but Chandra Flamecaller is a very clutch card to be playing this weekend.
I think so. Would you play 2 in your sideboard if you were on Mardu, for example?
Unlikely to play more
just
than
one.
One. It's still not a card you ever want to draw multiple of. It's still only really good in that matchup.
Fair enough.
But in Mardu specifically, and a lot of other decks, it's very powerful. I'm always less about individual sweet cards and way more about plans and cards that work well together, and more about a general feeling of what kind of strategies and what kinds of cards, what kinds of numbers are going to be good for a given weekend. And what I can tell people for this weekend is that while Zombies obviously has a big target on its head because it won the Pro Tour, and Jerry T won the Pro Tour with it, which is super popular and everyone loves him.
Mm-hmm.
I think Zombies is unlikely to be that strong this weekend, because the moment that decks are more well prepared for a deck like that, it becomes much worse.
Fair enough.
Marvel, on the other hand, is much harder to prepare for because it's able to kind of board out of its combo. It's able to go Tireless Tracker on you, and that card's unbeatable.
So it's also another deck that can shift its role, basically.
It shifts its role from a combo deck to another linear deck. The switching role thing is more about beat down, not beat down. Who's trying to be the aggro,
right?
Who's
of
trying
course.
to be the control.
Yeah.
Whereas a linear deck ceasing to be a linear deck is less of a role switch and more of a deck switch. It's more they're switching what they're doing, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
They don't get to decide whether they're aggressive in the matchup or not in the same way.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any takeaways? Anything you'd like to share with everybody? Just about your life, even? Just anything, man.
Magic's great.
Magic's
great. I RPTQ and PPTQ attendance has been dwindling. There's been 9-player PPTQs in places an hour outside of Toronto. There's been 13-player PPTQs in Toronto. One of the biggest city, not the biggest, but a very big city. A huge city.
It's a massive
PPTQ
city.
attendance everywhere is nothing. It's just dwindling. Nobody seems to want to be playing PPTQs and RPTQs. All I can tell you after coming back from the Pro Tour is that, damn, the Pro Tour is sick. And if you're not trying to play on the Pro Tour and you're playing competitive Magic, you're doing it wrong.
That's the dream. That's
so
the goal.
Worth it. Also, the RPTQs everywhere in the world now are so easy that if you're any good and want to play on the Pro Tour, just try for a year. You'll get your chance.
Dude, I'm working on it, man. I'm trying.
You're clear. You can get there. These events are no longer as hard as they used to be.
Fair enough.
So if you want to play the PT, you should try to play the PT.
Sick.
You won't be disappointed. Unless you lose, then you'll be disappointed.
You gotta win.
I'm not gonna lie.
That's the trick. The trick is you gotta win.
You won't be disappointed if you go. But if you don't go, you'll be disappointed. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Fair enough. I want to ask you one more question about Mardu, because this is more for me than anyone else, actually.
Yeah, that's fair.
Is Mardu Splash Blue, is it good or bad?
Bad.
Okay, I'm happy with that.
We put a lot of work into making the deck more consistent.
Why make it less consistent?
Why add another color?
Yeah, definitely.
It's crazy.
It makes a lot of sense.
Crazy. I like the concept of it, but I think if you're trying to be beating Marvel with counterspells, you're best off just playing a different deck.
Fair enough.
Not Blue-White Flash. That deck's bad.
Yeah, that deck's
Don't play that.
Don't play that.
Don't play that deck.
Don't play that. Fournier, last question. Where can we find you on the internet?
Best found on Twitter at Tirentu, Tirentu.
Awesome.
It's my moto name.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you've ever been beaten by a Tarentu, you know
It's
who it is
unlikely.
now.
I don't know how to win. I've never won before.
And I think that's all we got for you guys. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of MTG Speculator. Thank you, Daniel, for coming on the podcast. Really, really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me. It was a good
And
time.
it was really fun. I had a lot of fun talking the PT, and like one day I hope we can do one together.
One day.
One day
you'll have Gers.
Yeah, I'm working on it, man. A reminder to subscribe to us on iTunes, on our YouTube channel, or your favorite podcasting service. We're on Twitter. Follow us at MTG Spec Podcast for episode updates. Send us feedback. If you want us to take a look at your list or something along those lines, shoot us 140 characters. If you want to send us something a little longer, you can send us an email to mtgspec@gmail.com. And if you want to help the show grow, the number one way is to tell your friends about the show. Let them know that you like it. And finally, guys, as always, check us out on mtgspeculator.com. That's the home for the podcast. You'll find everything there, fully archived, available at your fingertips. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you again, Fournier, for being here. And we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.